Welcome to the Disrupt Education Podcast. Allie Dahl, I'm Peter Hostrasser. Thank you guys for joining us today on another amazing episode. Allie, how you doing?
I am good. And I don't know if I've said this before on the podcast about coincidences and how if you break that word down, it's really a coincidence, two things coming together. And it's actually the opposite of what people think that word means. But we have an awesome guest. And at the time of this recording, I subscribe to James Clear. He's the author of Atomic Habits, pretty big book. And he has a weekly newsletter. In his weekly newsletter, the day before we recorded this, there's this awesome quote from a woodworker, and a cabinet maker, and I was like, I have to share this. So we're also recording this near the beginning of the year, so a late Happy New Year. We already said it in our New Year's episode, but this is also relevant because it's from Charles Hayward from the Woodworker magazine from 1938, and he talks about starting the year with enthusiasm. And I just figured, we're in the middle of a semester when this comes out, we could re-hear enthusiasm. And so here's the quote. It says, "There is a dynamic quality about enthusiasm which nothing can resist. You can see it in the street orator whose whole heart is in the argument, swaying a crowd. You can feel it in the work of any artist, painter, writer, musician, or whatever he be. If he has put himself into the thing he has wrought in, felt it enough, suffered it enough. And the beginning of a school year is a good time, it seems to me, to set about enkindling our enthusiasm afresh, for life is a dead thing without it. Make it woodwork, if our tastes lie in that direction. Make it stamp collecting, make it anything in the wide world, so long as it is alive and vital." And
Woodworking.
I love that.
No, that's a powerful quote, man. We should probably put that into our fall series, right, to begin the school year for the traditionalists out there.
Oh,
That's awesome. So, what brought us to our guest? I actually reached out, but taking a look at Mr. Miller's wood shop, we have Bobby Miller with us today. Hi, Bobby. How you doing, man?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks for having me on your podcast. I'm a big fan, if you haven't noticed.
100%. One thing though, I do want to give the shout out. Like, so for our viewers who are watching on YouTube, there's a mural behind us, behind you. And I'm from a huge, I'm not a Cardinals fan. Maybe Allie is. I don't know. But
I
I
was.
love the bird because it's a state bird here in Illinois. I don't know in Minnesota. But can you tell us a little bit about the mural behind you, real quick?
Sure. So I'm in my office right now at Coon Rapids High School, and I'm very fortunate. I've got some great facilities here. When I started here, though, you could hardly get into this place because into my office here because there was so much hoarded tools and toolboxes and random stuff from projects that were started probably when I was a kid. And so I've been slowly getting them back out to the wood shop, and which creates some issues too, just having a toolbox out for kids to access. But I've been able to manage it somehow. And so we had this blank wall that had like three different spots that had been painted. So it was just ugly. And so I proposed it to my administrator. He gave me the green light. And so I've been working with our art department to make this happen. And they use the art club here. There was AI involved, and it turned into a really wonderful thing. I mean, it's our cardinal is our school bird,
Hmm.
and the state bird in Minnesota is the loon. By the way,
All right.
got plenty of DeWalt tools here, so I decided let's do a DeWalt chainsaw, and it's supposed to be a carving of a cardinal out of a tree stump, which is one of the most common carvings other than bears out of chainsaw carving. We don't do any of that here, but that's what the art club decided. And I gave them full, I just said I wanted it to be better than what it is. And so that's what they created behind me. And I'm so grateful too, because I'm trying to, make this industry look a little bit better than what it does currently. I mean, the wood industry itself is such a fruitful and life-giving and wonderful and sustainable industry. And so I just let's make it look that way. So that's kind of
Love it.
what I commissioned. I didn't do a single thing, not a single brushstroke was mine, and that's a good
Oh,
thing.
there's so many stories there that could be its own podcast because there's like, you have the artists, you have, the woodworkers, there's so much represented. And that's why I wanted to kind of have you explain that because yeah, you have like, there's art and actually hands-on woodworking. There's so many different ways that you're pulling down different things. But let's start with you. So did a little research. This is your 10th year in education, but can you kind of start like what is your path into becoming a teacher?
Sure. Well, there's a lot in that question, right? So it's actually my 10th year in teaching. I've been a teacher for 10 years. I started out substitute teaching after I got my 4-year degree in history. I graduated from high school in 2010. Back then, everybody was told if you got a 4-year degree, you're set, you're good. So the first one in my family to have a 4-year degree. I'm also the first with a whole bunch of student loan debt. So that equated very nice. But I didn't get any jobs with a history degree. I kind of thought maybe I'll pair that with teaching social studies. And so once I graduated, that appeared to be all that I could do. And so I couldn't apply to be just a social studies teacher. You need a specialty license for that. I applied to be a substitute teacher, kind of see maybe this will work for me, and I enjoyed it. It was something new every day. I liked the kids. I was only about maybe 5 or 6 years older than a lot of the kids, and it turned out to be where some of the kids in my classes were actually friends of mine, or my wife's friends, or like my now brother-in-law was a student in my class at one point, and I was just dating my wife at the time, and she's, very excited about that. But we're each kind of like, this is weird. Like, we go snowboarding together, we hang out together, and now this is probably a little bit too much. But no, I liked substitute teaching because it just gave me that excitement to pour into that next generation. Now I'm at the point where I'm not 5 or 6 years older. I'm twice the age of a lot of my students. And so kind of seeing how that education has changed has been really kind of neat. But anyway, I've taught in 4 different schools full-time. This is my 4th full-time woodshop teaching job. And so 7th year in on that. I love it. I love working with my hands. I love showing students what you can do. We have an outdoor adventure club here, and they actually used our room about an hour ago. And the guy who teaches the class comes in, and he has a very loud personality. He is just like, "You have got the best job in the world." And I'm like, "Yes, I know. It shouldn't be a secret. You should take the job when it opens up at the school next door, because you're capable, you can do it." "Oh, you don't like grading papers, you don't like student behavior." And I still get a little bit of that, but it's not anywhere near the factor of a standard core subject teacher. So we build small pieces of furniture in my classroom, but I feel like we use a lot of high-end and updated equipment and processes, and we still do the old-fashioned methods too. I mean, there's some things that, like doing rabbit and dado on a table saw, is still something I consider to be fun and fruitful, right? Because you might not have a CNC machine in your garage if you want to do this at home. So I have them doing rabbits and dados level 1 for their drawers and their end table project and their introductory cabinetry class. In the advanced classes, we can use the CNCs. We're fortunate enough to have 5 CNCs at Coon Rapids, and we put them to work. One is out of commission right now because we broke it. But that's just the kind of use it gets. And, I get to be maintenance man. So it kind of turns into whenever I've got time to do this. So,
nice.
That's a little bit about my teaching. Is that good?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
This is awesome. So I'm going to start with, a lot of, I think it's disruptive in itself to be a woodshop teacher in 2025, because a lot of schools got rid of their shop programs. Sadly, we've actually talked about that on the podcast. Back when I started, we were like, it's such a shame. And so to have a school district support woodshop and really want to grow it, because it's quoted all the time out there. I didn't think they taught that anymore, right? Like, it's just so common. My dad was a shop teacher, technology education teacher as well. Like, I went to St. Louis Park High School, and they had a shop at the time. Now, it was in the middle school. They had one in the high school, but I didn't take those courses. But I don't think it exists anymore. It just isn't a thing. They got rid of that program, which is such a shame. So I just want to start there. What do you have to say about shop as an experience for students and its benefits, and why should it be a thing?
Question. Boy, that is a slam dunk right there. So I've been able to ride this entire wave. Probably in 2008 is when I had my first actual wood shop class, and I was fortunate to be under one of the best shop teachers, in my opinion, in history. And so we were doing all the stuff that I'm doing in my class. I mirrored my class exactly off of him. Him and I have connected recently, and so I call myself the cheap knockoff of what he does. He says that I've perfected it, but I strongly disagree with him. So he had this wonderful program. In 2010, I graduated. My little brother takes the class 2 years later in 2012. That next year, he gets cut, not because of numbers, but because of politics. And that they kind of decided, nope, we don't need any kind of hands-on class. Computers are the future. You need a 4-year degree. That's how you be successful. And that stings, because now that my old shop teacher and I have connected, I'm very fond of my high school, where he doesn't speak very highly of it, because they cut friends of his too, and people who are on retirement and pension. They lost out because they're not retired. They were essentially let go, and so there's some issues with that. It saves the school some money, but now all of a sudden we're out of program and we're out an awesome teacher, and so that's kind of where I was seated. And I was in schools before SawStop came to my school, and so I've got that extra healthy level of respect for the machines. And I'm not saying that students don't have that now, but it's really nice to have the updated machinery, which is challenging, because when those programs got cut, a lot of that machinery just went to auction and people got it for a song. We just sold a panel saw because we updated ours, and I think it went for like $100 on auction. And I'm just like, oh my God, someone got the deal of a lifetime. And like, that's what happened, between 2010 and 2020. Really, it's starting to come back now. And I credit Mike Rowe, and I really credit social media too, because now it's not just your guidance counselor telling you that this is the way to be successful because I got a 4-year degree. It's more people, more voices, more podcasts like you guys that are kind of illuminating that. And I get the benefit because they shut it down in my high school, Spring Lake Park, the other SLP alley. They didn't shut it down in the big district because I think, change just happens slower in a big district. So I have an enormous wood shop here. This place, I mean, we have the capability to have 5 CNCs. 2 are desktop, but 2 are, one is 4x8 and the other is 4x4. And I think the other one is like 3x4. It's the Shape Boko kind of little fun play with it one. That's one that's busted, but love it. Okay, I love that saw.
Yeah.
So yeah, but there's a lot of funding streams where you can get the access to the technology, and we are very fortunate here. And the district I was in before, Cambridge Isani district, they had a wonderful gal there and a wonderful team here in the Anoka district, that they have people that are searching out these funding channels, because if it's a new initiative, you can get Perkins funding for extra CNC machines, for wide belt sanders, for things that a shop class needs. And so that's pretty neat, but it is so darn tricky to go on it on your own. And I'm, doing this podcast 3 o'clock on a Friday. I mean, this is very rare for me to do something like this, but I was out sick yesterday. It was our first day back after Christmas break. I'm out sick because my wife got sick and she stays home with our kids, and they're 4, 2, and 10 months. And so they are very busy. And if she calls in sick, like, kids still need to be diaper changed and fed and, toilet trained and all that. So I got in today and it was very fun to be back at work, and kids are obviously excited to see me. But I mean, it happens so often where I'm at an IEP meeting or some parent meeting, and it's just, this kid is struggling. He just doesn't know how to do school. He's acting out. He's got an A in my class.
Yeah.
He's got the top of the class. I mean, he is running thousands of dollars worth of machinery every day like it's nothing. And he listens to what I say. And if I need a favor or, something cut up for a teacher, they're the ones I go to. I don't go to the straight A students. They do fine in my classes too. But this is just the case where it's a different way to learn, and it's fun. Like I said, I feel like I've got the best job in the world.
I love that. And I'm glad you're not sick. And that's funny because as Allie and I, we'll throw his name out there again because we always talk about him, Jason Van Nuss. And when we was at the ACTE conference, I was there and we did a Friday at 4 p.m. conference, and he was in it. And it's funny. So when you're in, I mean, thank you for saying that, because we usually don't say when we're recording, because we release these every Wednesday morning. However, yeah, I mean, folks, look, Friday, 3 p.m., coming off of winter break, here we are, right? And that's I love your enthusiasm. That's something that really as I was watching a lot of your stuff, and we'll send out how people can connect and see your YouTube channel and everything like that. The funny thing is also, when you mention CNC, I drive around here and I'm in the Chicagoland area, and every manufacturer here and there, uh, every one of them have CNC operator needed right out front. Every single one of them, and I can guarantee you these are high five, low six figure incomes, but more importantly, will give our students a better lifestyle, whatever their lifestyle is. And I think that we're shifting that. So on a previous podcast, I think I was listening to you talk a little bit about that COVID, 2020 wood shop, right? My son took two auto shops in high school. He is now he works at a Porsche dealer out here. He's loving life. He's at community college. But that second year was an absolute tough year on him because he wanted to do so much. But we don't have to go too far into what it was like teaching woodshop during COVID, because I think we all know it was like, you were saying you were in your garage, and that's amazing, and in trying to make things happen. But you took something from it and you kind of made a unique way for students to learn without doing anything in front of them. Do you want to kind of unpack that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've been doing it since before COVID too, but COVID kind of just hyper sped up the ability for me to take my instruction and put it online. And I was cautioned on this by an older teacher while I was starting to think about this idea of record yourself doing it, and then they can have it. And that teacher said, no, because they'll fire you, hire the math teacher to do your job, and they'll just use all your video content. And that hasn't happened, but still to govern that, still just kind of how the sausage is made. I've made my own YouTube channel, and I'm not looking for subscribers or viewers. It's just an instructional tool. I'm not, trying to make extra money on this. I think it's just a great way for kids to learn because they've got that dang cell phone on them all the time, and I hate competing with it. But I think I found a way to compete and win. So that's where I found it very effective. And just, to kind of wrap up COVID, I mean, I was in a transition year there. And so we were hybrid online, we were this and that. And it stinks. And what I really saw was that if I've got a video of it, usually the guy doing the video, is like right here. Okay, so he's right in my face. He's got a front row seat. He can hear everything. And at home, there's hopefully no distractions. That was never the case at COVID. You'd hear dogs barking and parents hollering and, fire alarms going off, or like the little chime, hey, replace your battery, your battery. Oh my God, email mom right now. No, we're just fine. Like I heard it. Your face lit up, and it like almost on cue every 5 minutes. And so anyway, the video showed that almost I'm better online than I am live because I'm not competing with misbehavior by other students. Everyone's got a front row seat. Everyone can hear me. Oh, I missed it. Okay, well, you can go and rewind 15 seconds or minute, whatever. Let's say you weren't there that day, and so you missed everything. It's still right there. And so that's where I kind of saw this could be a big time thing. And once I came to Coon Rapids, my old shop teacher is doing this method too. And so we've gone to essentially no more after safety. Okay, I got to say this because safety is number one. Okay, 10 finger club, count them, 2 eyes, 2 ears, everything. Okay, safety is number one. They do not step foot in the shop area unless they've got the safety test done at 100%. It's big time important. I do them live, even though I don't think I'm as good live. Okay, but I do them live. Okay, all my bases are covered. And then when it comes to actually building the project, I've created several different iterations of woodworking plans. The first one I did was modeled off of my shop class. We built an end table. And after safety training, I don't do the demonstrations live. Okay, I've got a example here, and I'm holding up a woodworking plan for those of you guys who are just listening. But in between each step of my woodworking plans, I've got a QR code And that is a videotape of me doing the exact step of the
Nice.
process that I'm asking them to do. The
Mhm.
same thing I would do as demonstration. It started out me just doing the demonstration live, having a kid hold the camera. And then really that's when COVID kind of changed my thinking, like maybe I do this in my garage where everybody can see this and it's quiet. And, my dog is barking at times too, but, whatever. It doesn't need to be polished and perfect. It just needs to convey the information so the student can learn it, so they can there go and do it. So I've had remarkable success. I've been called to the mat on this a couple of times. I shared a video with you over email just before we got on, so don't feel like you had to watch it. But I had a review of my teaching methods, like they do every year for teachers. And this guy was really like headhunting, trying to say, like, you got to stop doing this. So he interviewed my students, and the results shocked him. And there's still a lot of naysayers because I kind of speak out of both sides of my mouth here, where I think smartphones are so bad for teenagers, but I'm not fighting that battle. I'm fighting the battle of teaching them something. So I'm using something that they're already already fighting it. Okay, now I've taken it away essentially, and that they're using it for something they want to do. So that's where I found a lot of success. You can, and the fancy educator word is differentiation, right?
Right.
I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right.
Yep.
But that's meeting the student where they're at. This literally meets them where they're at.
Yep.
Okay. I've got classes of 25 to 30. I'm way overloaded on how many kids I can have in a room. It's unsafe in my opinion, but I've cloned myself 30 times because when the student finishes the safety tests, okay, I need to lay out my board. Okay, what do? Grab a board, come over here, and I tell them, scan the QR code on the door as you walk out. They're also step 0 of your plans and all my plans, how to lay out your board. Okay, simple. Then I go and I help the students who struggle academically, help them with test taking techniques, deal with the kids that are talking in the corner. I'm able to fix machinery. It clones myself. And so a lot of people have identified it as lazy teaching, but really I'm allowed to work a lot harder when there's more of me. And it's really kind of funny too, because a few months ago, I got hurt playing football with a church social event, and we took dead last, so it was worth it. Okay, but I'm going to, blitz the quarterback, and it's our youth pastor, pretty quick, active guy, but I'm on him. I'm right on top. Oh my God, I am right on top of him. And now I go down, hit my shoulder, not as young as I used to be. And I see the trainer the next day here at school, the benefit of working at a school. And he's like, oh yeah, you just separated your shoulder. And I'm, well, what does that mean? He's like, oh, you got about a month of pain. Brother, okay. Luckily it was my left hand, so it was in a sling. There's some pictures of me online doing it too, because that was one where we do rabbits and dados the old school way. You need 2 hands on the board and the miter gauge as you're making those rabbits and dados on the table saw. With one arm, I'm not able to do that anymore. So the kids already know the method. I tell them, I even show the video I shared with you and tell the same story of like, this method works. Okay. And so I tell the kiddo, like, here, let's pull this up together. And some of them too, I'll have videos of other schools I've taught at. And I usually try to wear a shirt that's like reflective of where I'm at. So I had Blue Jacket Robotics on my shirt, and kid looks at me and is like, yeah, don't mind the ugly shirt. Okay.
Those are our competitors, man.
Right. Yeah. Your rival school, and it's like their flag. So no, I'm very fortunate that I've been given this freedom to do it.
Yeah.
My admin is very supportive. They know about it. We actually just went to a no phone policy in the schools, which I think is a good thing. All right. But in my class, we use dangerous power tools. And I firmly believe that your phone is dangerous. I tell my kids, like my children, you don't touch this because it can ruin your life. All right. You can call the wrong person. You can do the wrong thing, post the wrong thing. And I don't want them to do that. All right. It's very powerful, and that is dangerous, but I'm a woodshop teacher. I'm not, I know something about dangerous power tools. And so try to teach them in an appropriate way. And the minute that they're on Instagram or on Snapchat, like, no, okay, Nope, you don't get that anymore. You need to wait for me now, like the old days. Okay, I'll do a leg gluing demonstration in 2 days, special for you. What? It's like, or you never open that app again.
Yeah.
Okay, can I have back? Yes. All right, there we go.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
I think
that's it in
the
a
work that
nutshell.
you're doing is it's really transformational for students. They don't have this waiting. I remember doing a lot of that work in the chemistry classroom, very similar around chemicals that you won't have access to at home or maybe labeled differently, the amounts and the concentrations that we would have. So safety, of course, totally understand, having to have kids be on board with, the safety. But when I started recording live, like the demos, the lab technique, and making it, assigning it as homework, or you had to answer something before you could go into the lab, which showed me that you watched the video. I had so much more engagement, and like what you're sharing, was able to dig in deeper to the content, because one of the things that actually I did my master's on was the idea of a cognitive load versus a physical, like the actual movement and doing stuff with your hands is a totally different skill set, and you get different things out of learning outcomes if students are doing both. So if you have too much new vocabulary, too much new stuff, and then the mechanics are difficult. And so this idea of a front row seat, I got better lab outcomes, so I can speak to it as well. And COVID actually gave me the time and space, as it sounds like you did too, to record even more videos, because that was just what we had time to do it during the day. But it's really interesting though that you're getting pushback, because I feel like Peter and I are listening and we're like, this is so like good. Like this is the type of stuff that we want to showcase on the podcast, but it shouldn't be disruptive. Like to me, I'm so glad you're in a space that is supporting you. But for those, we hope this podcast reaches the ears of people who may not have had previously the ears to hear it, because it really is better for kids. It's not lazy teaching. It's actually the opposite. You get to dig in deeper into the stuff that you would otherwise not get into. I mean, I would always get such richer questions and conversations with students, because they're not worried about the mechanics, or if they are, they have a resource that can guide them. And I think what you're doing with the QR codes and giving them step by step it's like one of those things Peter and I talk about on the podcast. Like, it's so obvious but people might not even think about it. And like, you could do this in any class for the work, so that you can spend more of that in-person time with kids. So I do love that I had this quote written down from you about, I know something about teaching the purpose and use of dangerous power tools, and this idea of cell phones, because I think that's just a really interesting quote, and it resonates because you are a shop teacher. So one of the things that I also like about your work is you're trying to connect it to industry, and you yourself still work in industry. So how has that helped what you do in the classroom in terms of like making that connection? And like, what would you advocate for educators in the importance of that, being in the system, but also being on par with what's going on outside of the classroom?
Okay, if I talk a little bit about, I won't name any names, but the pushback can I talk about the pushback just a little bit? Or
Absolutely, yeah,
so
absolutely.
I just did this. I didn't ask for permission. I didn't, write a 5-point plan. I just, with my class, I just did it. So my mentor, when he started at this district, he was told, oh, you can't build rocking chairs. Nope, no rocking chairs can be built in a cabinetry class. He just went and did it. And I admire that, because he knows better than his superiors as far as it comes to woodworking. And I'm not saying I know better, but I wanted to try it. I've been experimenting a little bit. And so I just went for it. And, my colleagues here, disagreed. But my first ever mentor teacher told me that once that door shuts, it doesn't matter what anybody says. You're the teacher. Teach how you think is best. And so that's kind of the mantra that I followed. I was at summits, the CTE summit in Minnesota here, and I was able to present, and I presented on this method, and I did not know that one of the big time high ups in my district was going to be in the room. And we're also a class or a school that is zero cell phone policy. And I'm like, oh my God. But kind of bringing back to industry, earlier that week, he was in my classroom to help me thank an industry partner who donated a panel saw. Safety Speed Manufacturing donated a panel saw to us, partially because of some work I did for them over the summer, but also just because they believe in this. And so the gentleman was in on that, and we observed the class, and they got to see the method, and so we got to see the saw used, and he was there the whole time. And then he sits like second row, and there was like 60 people in this room, and like, oh my God, am I gonna have to change everything in like the next 2 minutes? Like, I got a PowerPoint slide, I showed the video that I shared with you, and I'm like, oh brother, okay, I'm going for it. And if I'm fired at the end of this, I guess I'm just fired. But he stood up at the end, and I gulped, and I thought, oh boy, here it comes. And he said, I was in his class last week, and I wasn't a believer. And because you'd think that there's going to be kids just parked on their phones in the wood shop. He said he could hardly realize it, that I was teaching this way. If he didn't know about it prior, he would have never known that that was the case. He would have thought, oh, just quick check. And that's because I've also gotten better at this video thing where I've edited them, added words to them. If a kid doesn't have an AirPod, which is very rare, a kid not having an AirPod, to hear your video over the machinery. Usually, yeah, you got AirPods? Yeah. Okay. Take them out and use them. Like it's kind of contraband around here, but like, yes, use the tools for good things. And, luckily, I've gotten the support now, and I really think you can too. Industry also backs me up. So kind of getting back to your original question, Allie, industry is so important. And I never really thought that until last year. I've gotten donations in the past of tools that were either secondhand or here's a whole bunch of wood that you don't need. And that's so cool. I think more companies would benefit doing that in their community. Don't send it to me if you're not local. I mean, give it to your local shop program so they turn out some employees that can help build your company, and you can in turn then pay them very well. I worked for Safety Speed over this past summer, and they're the ones that really kind of ignited this whole passion. And they've got a brilliant marketing guy, Justin Rinaldi. He kind of gave me some mentorship on starting all this. I mean, I had a MySpace when I was in high school, and I got a Facebook, but otherwise I'm not on social media. It's just not, it's not interesting to me. I don't think it's a good thing as far as like personally, oh, do they like my, photos at the beach? I don't see that as, and I'm not interested in that, honestly. My family, we don't even post our kids' pictures online. But he kind of helped me get this stuff going, kind of gave me some tools and tricks. And Brian Donahue is on the board of the National Woods Board. He's also, I believe he's still a board member of the Wood Industry Association, the WIA. And while I was working for him, I was doing some marketing and some sales stuff and trying to, help bolster their product line by writing some project plans, which was really nice because it wasn't a physical job. And I could go home and I could serve my young kids that, were at the time were 3, 1, and like newborn, very well. And so I appreciated that. But Brian was just so nice that he saw this in me and that he saw how beneficial attending trade shows like the International Woodworkers Fair in Atlanta could be for me. And after being there, I mean, my network exploded. I got probably the names of the 5 best shop teachers in the state, and I actually met one up by you, Peter, Mark Smith. He probably thought I was a crazy man because after he was presented the award, it was at a concert venue, music was loud, and we were just packed in there like sardines, which is not my scene. And it's loud, so I told the other Safety Speed guys, like, hey, when he gets off the stage, I want to go say hi to him and shake his hand. And they saw him, and so I'm trying to like cut through all these people, and I go, Mark, and I finally get there and he's kind of like, what is going on here? And I said, I'm a shop teacher from Minnesota. I'm just so, thrilled. Like, can I get a picture with you? Can I meet with you? Can I pick your brain? And he was nice enough. I was working for Safety Speed as a salesman the next day at IWF. And so he says, why don't I come to your booth and we can have a chat? And I asked, Brian Donahue was right there. He's like, is that okay, boss? And he's, yeah, of course. We want the woodwork, 2 wood shop teachers, and one is the wood industry educator of the year. So like, yeah, it was just so fruitful. That is, as far as like networking and getting other industry contacts, that's been really beneficial. And it's not like, I think this was a 1 in a million kind of coincidence, where I also only take jobs that are only like 10 minutes from my house because we've got young kids. I don't want to be, across the metro area and I got an hour drive. So
yeah,
try to do that. In the past, I've worked for cabinet shops, or 1 year I discovered the following school year I'd be teaching welding. So I took a job as a welder, and it was at a small company. So I only welded maybe 10%, but I was around the welding a lot. And it's performance welding from Ham Lake, and they were so nice. And, all right, we're done welding today. We got a couple hours. Why don't you go mow the lawn? And, so I put on a podcast. I listened to your podcast and just start to, try to see how this all connects, and, how I can bring this to my students. And I'm not like this, missionary guy. I need to work summers so that I can pay for all the kids that my wife and I have been blessed with. So that is why I work every summer.
Got it. I that's what I really, really appreciate. I know, like, after this podcast, Allie and I will do another podcast and we'll kind of recap this podcast. But I do want to kind of put something out there that I love hearing is your curiosity. Like, if you get an opportunity to teach like welding or something, like you put yourself into a position, and I think there is a lot of opportunity there for educators to do something like that, to get into some sort of industry. And honestly, I think it should be part of the job. It shouldn't be something with extra pay. Of course, you gotta feed those kids. But like, I think that's amazing, and kudos for you for doing that. I wish more educators had the time and the place, even within a school year, to kind of break down those roles. So I think you kind of open up a whole new conversation for Allie and I to have. So, kind of to round out here, Bobby Miller, Mr. Miller's workshop, basically across is that what it is? Mr. Miller's workshop on pretty much everything?
Mr. Miller's wood shop.
Wood shop. Okay. All right. I'm saying workshop because I like working on there. And I'm excited, and I probably had too much coffee, but I digress. You have a lot of educators out there who might be kind of just hitting the wall, maybe some politics. What do you say to them? As somebody who has so much like energy, curiosity, dude, it's not easy to have energy with 3 kids, man. I know I have 2. Allie's got a family. There's a lot of things going on in our lives, but and educating people. What do you say? What do you say to people who are just kind of like, you know what, I need to disrupt? You're a guy who's done some amazing things that people still don't agree with, which, hey, whatever, man, the result's the result. What do you say to them? I know that's a big question, but I like to ask those.
Honestly, I have no idea. I think it boils down to the systems that you have in place. And so I love LinkedIn because I'm able to find you. And I listened to another podcast, and like I'll listen to every single podcast from the beginning too. And so I've listened to I'm not all the way there yet, but I'm
we
just
got a
about
few of them.
through you guys. You guys have made a lot. The Shop Class podcast is one that I really enjoyed, and I listened to every single episode probably within the last year and a half. And I actually connected with one of the original shop teachers, Matt Barbachek, and he was a winner of the Harbor Freight Tools for Schools initiative. And that's another tier. I think what I do, I'm decent at, but I mean, if you were a winner of that, you are top of the league. And so he was able to, kind of give me some insight, and he looked back and complimented me, and he's not teaching anymore. He's staying home to raise his daughter. And I commend that, because that's what my wife did. And I told him, but as a teacher, I can still be home at 3, and I never work nights, weekends, or holidays. And he was just, oh my God, how are you doing that? And this is a rare thing where I'm staying after school to do this, because my wife is fighting toddlers right now, and I'm excited to get home to her. I really want to be teacher of the year someday, but I want to be husband of the year, father of the year every day. And nice. it's my job. I also kind of feel it as my hobby. It's kind of a bummer. Woodworking is really not my hobby anymore. It's helping other people learn woodworking, and so that's kind of fun. I do a couple projects a year that challenge me, and usually support something else. I built a
Mhm.
great big ring toss for my church, and that was really probably a 3 years dry spell, no, maybe a year and a half dry spell of building anything. And
Mm.
I got done and I saw it and I looked at it, I'm like, I made that. And I was happy with it. Everybody else was happy with it. I was able to, provide a service to something I care about. And, you know, I guess I don't know if you're struggling, just try to remind yourself what got you into it, what makes you excited about it. I wrote 2 referrals today, and that was the down part of my day, but that was probably also only 0.2% of my day, and I'm not going to think about that. I'm going to think about the outdoor adventure teacher that says I got the best job. I'm going to think about all the insight that you guys have given me, and really just maybe check too of what you're consuming. We used to just sit in this office, and in downtime I would scroll Facebook, and at lunchtime I would go out to Cub or local food place here and get some food. And now it's like I've followed pages like yours that challenge me to learn more because I'm into this stuff. It's not like work. I follow big time woodworkers. So I'm learning so much. I'm not just seeing the feed of all my high school buddies that I haven't talked to for 10 years. It's, kind of just the system of what's going in, is
Mm.
is huge, I think. And,
Yeah.
maybe there's a faith element to that. I really enjoy my family time. I'm able to get away and not think about this place too. Which honestly is hard because sometimes I want to think about this. Like
Mhm.
if there's a big opportunity like getting on this show and I'm home with my kids, it's dinner time, like I'm not reading your email, Peter. I'm really sorry to say that, but I'm tuned in here. But also because with toddlers, dinner time can go off the rails pretty quickly anyway. But no, I guess it's the system. It's the
Yeah.
Michael Jordan thing. Like everybody wants to win the Super Bowl, but the one with the best system is going to be the winner. So
Yeah.
that's probably what I would say.
Love
I don't
that.
know.
Wrap it up, Allie. What's your final thoughts?
There's a lot of little nuggets in what you're saying, Bobby, and we love finding educators that clearly love what they do. I think one of the the lessons here is also you can have the best job in the world from other people's perspective, and you can also have a wonderful like work-life balance. And like that can be just as disruptive to education because I think sometimes educators don't have strong enough boundaries and also don't just go for it. I love that you have like, you said, oh, I speak out of both sides of my mouth, but sometimes you have to. You have
Mhm.
to know when what I'm saying applies in one situation and when it applies completely differently in another. And you walk that line really, really well. And I'm would have loved to have been a student in a woodshop class like yours. And I know that any student that you have is going to benefit immensely from your passion that just is like coming off. And that's the kind of people that school districts need to like develop and retain. And there's like such an opportunity there. So if you're a school leader, figure out the Bobbies in your and Mr. Millers in your building because, like Dr. TJ we had on a few weeks ago, you know, uh, teach to the best, and reach the best, all of that like
Mhm.
applies here because, um, you know, not everybody teaches like you.
Yeah.
So,
No,
Thank you. And
love.
if I ever need a skydiving instructor, I would love to be one of yours, but I really don't think that's going to be the case. So, yeah, that's kind of
You'd be
I'd
surprised.
like to. I don't
You
never
know.
never
know.
know. Well,
Thank you
Bobby,
guys for the
I
nice
definitely am
words.
going to put your link tree in the show notes. But how can people connect? What's the best way to connect with you?
I'd say I'm most active on Instagram, and it's started out more just for my students and
Yeah.
me to get more information out. But I'm finding it to be a pretty powerful networking tool, either Instagram or LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a good one. It just kind of seems a little bit more boring, not as exciting. But Yeah, Instagram, LinkedIn. My email is mrmillerswoodshop@gmail.com. Email is always good.
Mhm.
I'm trying to be everywhere, so wherever you are, you can find me. I'm on
Got it.
Twitter, I'm on Facebook. I do my own podcast too. It's nothing compared to yours. I did the first video one today though, earlier today. So I got the cardinal in the back. No, I'm just trying to help people. That's what it's all about.
Love it. And we're going to encourage our listeners to just check out all your links because you can learn a lot from what Bobby's doing. Hey, Bobby, thank you so much for hanging out with us today on the Disrupt Education podcast, man. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Allie.
So for Allie Dahl, I am Peter Hostrasser. We'll catch you next time on the Disrupt Education podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode of the Disrupt Education podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Are you ready to disrupt the educational arena you're a part of? For more ways to get involved in the work we do here at Disrupt Education, check us out at disrupteducation.co or find us on LinkedIn at Peter Hostrasser or Allie Privet.
Our mission here is to help facilitate and amplify changes in the educational system through local initiatives and help you scale them into community movements. Our building network of disruptors in education are working to move beyond scores and grades as the only measure for student learning. If your school district, college, campus, or organization is looking for facilitators of this work, reach out on our website or social media.
And if you have any thoughts or feedback on this week's episode or any episode, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries, taking risks, and most importantly, disrupting education.